Fam, what's up with the squad? It's your favorite auntie with Uncle Tendencies, and you already know what time it is. Welcome back to another unapologetic, unfiltered, and unbossed episode of Cess Talk Sports, powered by the BY's PoliSports Tea Time podcast and our advocacy arm, Respect Her, where we say the loud part all the way out loud and spill the kind of sports tea the mainstream media wouldn't touch with a 10-foot mic. See, if you're new to the squad, let me break it down real quick. We don't just run box scores, we run it back with context. We don't just do highlights, we do history. This is the space where Black women are front and center, where we name the labor, expose the politics, and protect the legacy. Because too many folks still don't get it. Sports ain't neutral, and the silence around injustice is loud. And today's episode, it cut deep. Broken Sky, the politics of player neglect and what fans can do. We're taking it straight to the Chi. Yeah, that's Chicago. The one that hoisted the trophy not too long ago. The one that bagged two of the biggest names in the game last year. And still, no private facility, no elite rehab, no serious investment in infrastructure, just broken promises, a whole lot of press release PR. So here's our guiding question, fam. When a franchise brings home a chip and signs the stars, but still won't invest in their player basic needs, what does that say about league standards, about racialized neglect, about the political will, or lack of it, to do right by these women? This ain't just about one team. It's a microcosm of how Black labor gets exploited and discarded while being called grateful to be here. You know I ain't unpacking this alone. I got the co-captain of the truth train riding with me, Political Lil. Talk to the people. Let's go.
All right. Thank you, Auntie Cess. You already know we stay ready to speak truth to power over here. And this episode is one of the most important we've done because it shows exactly why we have a need for online advocacy and an advocacy team we're calling Respect Her, which stands for reclaiming equity, strength, protection, empowerment, change, and truth. Hashtag Respect Her Game. At PoliSports Tea Time, we believe fans need to form a political watchdog style group tackling media bias, economic injustice, and leadership and ownership disparities for Black women in sports, specifically in women's basketball. What's happening in Chicago isn't just about one franchise falling short. It's about systemic disregard for Black women athletes, even when they drive ratings, selling jerseys, and moving the culture. This is what we call plantation politics in sports, where labor is celebrated, but investment is denied. Well, the brilliance of someone like Angel Reese is good enough to fill arenas, but not good enough to build a facility around. And when a CEO can't stand in front of players, with a PowerPoint explaining why they aren't worth the money, this psychological manipulation wrapped in corporate gaslight. The Sky front office has made it clear. They see these women as replaceable, not as professionals deserving a top-tier support. That's why we're calling it out. The WNBA league silence too. Because if you ban private flights in the name of equity, but allow teams to leave players practicing in rec gyms, you're not serious about parity. You're serious about control. So today we're going to talk through the receipts, the history, and the politics behind this negligence. And most importantly, we're going to talk about what fans can do, because silence helps no one. Advocacy. Now that's how we build something better. So let's get into it.
Well, let's get straight to it. No fluff, no filters. We kicking things off with the facts on the hardwood and in the dirt, because the Chicago Sky been standing on broken promises and borrowed time for over 2 decades. How you win the chip in 2021, bringing two of the biggest college stars in 2024, and still ain't got a gym with your name on it? Make it make sense. And here's where it gets even more disrespectful. They made the big announcement, told the media it was a $40 million state-of-the-art facility, held the groundbreaking, put up the banners, then what? Ghosted the build. Not one brick laid. Meanwhile, these elite athletes, professionals, are working out in shared rec centers, piecing together rehab and recovering like they playing semi-pro. That's not just embarrassing, that's institutional failure. And if you think that's new behavior, let me take you back to 2018, when Gabby Williams dropped a truth grenade in her interview with Anscape. She said the Sky's own CEO, Adam Fox, stood in front of them with a PowerPoint and had the audacity to say, "We don't invest in you because you don't make us money." Let that marinate. That's not just out of pocket. That's straight up plantation economics. Exploit the labor, keep the check, then blame the worker for being broke. Nah, This ain't just bad business. It's racialized, gendered negligence masked as strategy. And we ain't buying it. This is why we talk power and not just plays. Because if the league won't hold teams accountable, then fans got to pull up and apply pressure. Lil, you feeling this? Go ahead and jump in. Let's tear the curtain all the way off.
Exactly, Cess. And let's not forget what happened to Gabby after that. She took her talents overseas to earn a living wage the WNBA still refuses to offer. And what did the Sky do? They suspended her. That's not just a policy issue. That's punishment for survival. A Black woman athlete exercising her right to secure her financial future was labeled disloyal. That's a control tactic disguised as professionalism. This whole situation lays bare the double standards baked into the league culture. You can win titles, build visibility, increase ticket sales, and still have the owners look you in the face and say, you don't generate enough for us to care. Black women are the engines of the WNBA, but they are treated like rental property, not long-term partners. The Sky front office didn't just fail to invest. They rationalized that failure to the players' face. That's deeper than neglect. That's exploitation with a suit and a slideshow. Now, let's be clear. When a team refuses to invest in its workers while reaping the rewards of their success, that's not just cheap, it's political. It's about maintaining power over the labor force. It's about denying mobility, denying wealth building, and denying the professional conditions that athletes in other leagues, even men leagues, take for granted. And who suffers? The Black women who put the league on their back. That's why this ain't just a local issue. It's a national pattern. And the Chicago Sky, they're just the latest example of a system that keeps telling Black women, we'll cheer for you, but we won't invest in you.
Now, see, it's one thing when a franchise fumbles the bag, but it's different when former players start speaking truth about the conditions they were expected to not only work under, but thrive in. And that's exactly what's going down with the Chicago Sky. This ain't hearsay. This is testimony. And let me say this loud for the folks in the back. When Black women speak on workplace conditions, believe them. Because where there's smoke, there's systemic fire. Gabby Williams ain't just airing out that wild PowerPoint moment. She said straight up. It brainwashed players into accepting their own devaluation. Y'all catch that? A whole team meeting with slides and strategy, not to uplift or invest, but to convince grown professionals that they weren't worth the cost. That's not franchise transparency. That's psychological manipulation. That's how systems of oppression stay in power, by gaslighting the workforce into thinking crumbs are gourmet. It's economic control disguised as honesty. It's emotional abuse framed as budgeting. And Gabby ain't on no island. Courtney Williams, now doing her thing in Minnesota, kept it a buck. This guy's practice setup, a basic rec center. Let that sink in. A rec center for elite professional athletes. And she ain't stopped there. She called out the team for not even providing post-game hotel rooms. Players had to figure it out on their own. So when she said she wouldn't even think about coming back until they build a real facility, that wasn't bitterness. That was a clear boundary born from experience. That was her knowing her worth. So when a vet like Courtney says the Sky are corner cutting and lacking, that's not petty. That's an indictment. That's a seasoned pro putting the league on notice for what it lets slide in plain sight. And if the league won't check it, then we will. Because this ain't just a Chicago problem. This is a blueprint for how Black women's labor gets disrespected while being expected to deliver excellence on borrowed time and borrowed spaces. Look, you know what it is. Bring us deeper into this because the receipts ain't done.
Exactly. And that's why these comments are so important. Because when Black women athletes start talking, what they're really doing is documenting a pattern. This ain't just mismanagement. This is a strategic under investment. What they're describing isn't just bad business decisions. It's a political stance. You don't control the money, so you don't deserve the resources. Now think about it. When a franchise spends more energy justifying the lack of an investment than actually investing, that's plantation politics 101. It's not about what the players have earned. It's about who gets to decide what's deserved. This is an old corporate trick in a book. Take a labor force, especially a Black one, assign their worth based on only short-term revenues, and use that number to deny them long-term infrastructure. That's not logic, that's suppression. And I want us to be real about the gaslight effect this has on players. When Gabby Williams says the PowerPoint slide made them feel like they were the problem, or they weren't enough to justify a weight room or recovery space, that's not just bad management. That's emotional exploitation. And it happens when workers don't have power. The fact that multiple players have raised similar concerns should have triggered a league-wide investigation. But instead, silence. Because that kind of structure abuse is only shocking if you're not used to it.
Now listen here. We done named the names, broke down the playbook, and laid the whole mess out. The Chicago Sky's leadership dropped the damn ball. That part crystal clear. But here's where it gets even more dangerous and even more political. Where the hell is the WNBA in all this? How you let a franchise announce a whole $40 million facility, rake in new investors, sign marquee stars like Angel Reese, triple the ticket cost, and still had him hooping out of a rec center? And the league ain't said a single word. Signs for the W leadership ain't just disappointed, it's complicit. You can't be out here branding yourself as the progressive league, talking equity this and supporting women that, and then play blind when one of your squads is actively devaluating black talent on the daily. Let's keep it 100. The WNBA knows exactly what's going on in Chicago, and every day they say nothing, that's not neutrality, that's alignment. This is the same league that polices salary caps, regulates travel, and even sets dress codes. But when it's time to enforce minimum workplace standards for players, crickets. Suddenly, everybody got selective memory. They ban private charter flights in the name of parity. But when a team refuses to provide basic recovery space or a legit facility, somehow that ain't a parity issue? Nah, that's not just policy neglect. That's political cover. And that cover is protecting exploitative, racially biased ownership structures straight up. That's what happens when institutions choose comfort over justice, optics over impact, and profit over people. So we're not just side-eyeing the sky. We calling out the whole damn structure. Let's talk next steps, because this ain't just a story. It's a movement.
Says you hit it right on the head. This isn't just about one team. It's about league culture. The WNBA loves to market empowerment, but when you dig a little deeper, you start to see the way those slogans unravel when real accountability is required. If black women athletes are the face of the league, then why are their bodies still being put through subpar working conditions without recourse? The league silence signals something very specific. They're more concerned with protecting ownership than protecting labor. And when you think about who that labor force is, overwhelmingly is black women. Then that silence, it isn't neutral. It's a political decision rooted in racialized, gendered power structures. This ain't just neglect, it's strategic. And what's even more troubling, the WNBA is on the verge of massive growth. New expansion teams, a new media deal, and now an upcoming CBA they're in negotiation with. This is a moment for the league to show leadership, to set a new tone. But instead, it's choosing to prop up the same old guard, same old structures that have historically excluded and exploited black athletes. It's plantation economics in a modern Jersey. And unless we apply pressure, unless fans, media, and players demand change, that silence is going to keep shaping policy behind the scenes.
Oh, let's keep this thing in motion. We ain't just scratching the surface no more. We already broken down the facility failures and the league's silent cosign. But now we're taking it even deeper. Because what's happening in Chicago ain't just mismanagement, it's structural neglect with a purpose, a pattern, and a politic. Let's run that rec center comment from Courtney Williams back one more time. Imagine you a pro athlete, putting your body on the line night in and night out. You got a national platform. You selling out merch, pulling ratings, and the facility you show up to look like the same spot folks hit for open gym and Zumba class. They doing spin classes while you trying to work out. That's not just disrespect. That's a message. You're lucky to be here. Don't ask for more. And this right here is where they tired. Recycled excuse shows up. We don't make enough revenue to justify the investment. Nah, cut the cap, fam. Because here's the math they don't want to talk about. You got Dwayne Wade cutting checks to be quiet. You got Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso bringing in millions of eyeballs, moving merch, dominating engagement. The dollars are there. The audience is there. The spotlight is on. Open the books. So when you still tell these women they don't generate enough to get a training facility, that's not business math. That's racialized math. Then you calculate value based on bias, based on how little you think black women are worth. no matter what the receipts say. It's exploitation dressed up as economics. It's a devaluation strategy, not a financial reality. And we calling it what it is. Intentional neglect rooted in racism, misogyny, and control. So the next time somebody hits you with the "it's just business" defense, remind them we ain't seen the books. And bad business for Black women ain't accidental. It's designed that way.
Exactly, Cess. The "we don't invest because we don't generate enough revenue" line, that's a smoke screen for control. Because when you really look at it, the WNBA own policies create the very conditions that depress player value. From capped salaries to restricted branding opportunities to limited media visibility. Then they turn around and blame the players for not producing enough to deserve more. Now, that's a rigged game. This is where we really have to say it plain. Infrastructure is power. If players don't have elite facilities, they can't train at the levels they need. If they don't have recovery centers, their careers get cut short. If they don't have the proper housing and travel, they burn out. And when those things are missing, players lose leverage. Owners know this. The league know this. And instead of fixing it, they maintain it. Because control isn't just about salaries. It's about controlling your environment, your body, and your future. And let's not pretend this is just a Chicago issue. Every time a team uses the same type playbook, you don't make enough for us to care, they're reproducing a plantation model. Profit from the labor, deny the investment, maintain the dependency. And when the league lets that fly, it's not just neglect, it's policy by silence. This is a structure players are trapped in. And it's why the next CBA fight, the labor organizing and fan advocacy, it matters more than ever.
All right, now it's time to shift gears. We've named the harm, we've dragged the receipts, and we made the case. But let's be clear, that's just step one. Now we got to talk strategy, because calling it out ain't enough if we ain't also fighting back. And let me keep it 1,000% real with y'all. This ain't just a player issue. This is a legal issue, a labor issue, and a full-blown advocacy issue. Enter Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Y'all get tired of me talking about it, but y'all need to understand. The federal law that protects employees from racial and gender-based discrimination in the workplace is Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. So let's be real. If one WNBA team is offering state-of-the-art facilities while another is making Black women athletes train in a public rec center with no recovery space or post-game housing, how the hell is that not discrimination? Now add this. The Sky Zone CEO literally said in writing on a slide that they don't invest in the players because they don't make us money. Man, that's not just a bad take. That's bias baked into a business model. That's economic neglect being passed off as strategy. So let's talk solutions, not just smoke. Number one, the dub can't keep hiding behind this weak parody language while letting teams wild out with no accountability. Number two, there needs to be mandatory facility standards across the board, no matter the zip code. Number three, if the ownership group can't meet the minimums, penalize them, strip them, force to sell, period. Because this ain't charity. This is professional sports, folks. And if you want to be in the business of women's basketball, then guess what? You better be ready to invest like it, build like it, and respect like it. When was the last time you was at the Y and saw your favorite NFL player working out next to you? When was the last time you was down on the playground and your favorite NBA player was shooting jump shots with you? See, either build the facility or get out the damn way and let somebody with vision, capital, and conscience take the wheel. Lil, close us out, because see, we not just venting, we building power. Let's move.
Says that's exactly it. Ownership comes with obligation, not just perks. You don't get to ride the wave of Black women's success, collect the profits from a championship season or NIL buzz, and then turn around and say, well, we're still not sure it's worth the investment. No, if you're not invested in the players' well-being, your franchise should be on the line. And here's where we, as the fans, community members, and media voices come in. Because this is this is a fight that can't just be fought behind them closed doors. We need advocacy campaigns, public pressure, legal briefs, petition, hashtag campaigns, call outs, letters to the WNBA, to the commissioner office, to sponsors. Because when you make enough noise, the league has no choice but to respond, even if they'd rather stay quiet. Let's not forget, ownership legitimacy is tied to public trust. If fans start saying, we don't trust this franchise to care for our players, sponsors will listen, media will listen, and the league will have to listen. And that's how power shifts. not just through policies, but through pressure, through people. And that's why we're launching Respect Her, because it's time to turn frustration into mobilization. It's time to protect Black women athletes off the court with the same energy we cheer with them on the court.
Now, y'all already know we don't do those sugarcoating on this show. We damn sure ain't about to start right now. Because see what's going down with Chicago Sky? That ain't just bad management. That's not just neglect. That's plantation politics in a fitted suit. Let's talk about the now infamous PowerPoint moment, where the CEO of the franchise looked a room full of Black women dead in the face and said, "We don't invest in you because you don't make us money." That ain't just a bad quote. That's an old, ugly logic dressed up in corporate branding. Let's call it for what it is. You do the labor, we control the resources. You bring the talent, we decide your work. Sound familiar? Because it should. That's the same framework our ancestors were shackled under, just with better light, HR departments, and the WNBA logos on the wall. And the fact that this was said to a group of elite Black women athletes, some of the best to ever lace it up, that ain't incidental. That's intentionally hierarchy maintenance. That's intentional hierarchy maintenance, where ownership stays white and male, and labor stays Black and grateful. And here's where it gets dangerous. Matter of fact, it gets extra dangerous. The league silence. That's not neutral. That's not oversight. That's an endorsement. That's a cosign. Because when franchise leadership starts sounding like Jim Crow boardroom logic, exploit the labor, deny the equity, silence the dissent, and the WNBA just shrug, that's not just a front office failure. That's systemic complicity. And fans have every right to be fired up. Because if this is happening in Chicago, it can happen any damn where. And let's be real, it already is. So now we're not turning the volume down, we're raising it. For every player, every fan, every young Black girl dreaming of playing in the league, we naming it, documenting it, and organizing against it. Because this ain't just about basketball. It's about who gets to build, who gets to profit, and who gets protected.
Says I'm right there with you. The Sky didn't just make bad calls. They made racialized decisions under the cover of fiscal responsibility. What we're seeing isn't just disrespect. It's structural. It's the intersection of racism and sexism, where Black women athletes are not only undervalued financially, but consistently denied the investment and respect that their white counterparts and male peers receive as standard. And let's talk about control first management, because that's the model we're seeing here. Not vision driven, not player first, but owner protected and status quo centered. You want to know why these players are calling it out? Because they can feel it. The energy is not let's build a future. It's let's maintain control and protect the owner's pocketbook. That's not leadership. That's perseverance, preservation, a power of hierarchy, of inequity. We keep saying it. These players aren't just athletes. They're women. They're Black, and they're politicized the minute they walk through the door. What happens to them on and off the court is a deeply reflective of the systems that dominate society. And the Sky, they just laid bare just how far some folks will go to protect those systems. That's why this conversation matters. Because without pressure, without change, this isn't just going to continue, it's going to grow in silence.
Y'all done heard the whole pot get stirred. Now it's time to decide how we use this heat. Because this ain't just about exposing a broken system. This is about building a movement. And that's exactly why we're launching the Respect Her Advocacy platform, a space dedicated to protecting, uplifting, and organizing for Black women athletes who are being failed by the very leagues they help carry on their backs. This is the line in the sand, fam. We're taking this conversation from the mic to the streets and to the timeline. We're calling on our community of truth tellers, hoop heads, scholars, and justice-driven fans to do what the league won't do. Bring the pressure. Start today. Post, tag, speak up. Use hashtag Broken Sky and hashtag Respect Her Game across every platform, because social media is the protest ground now. And the more visibility we create, the less room the WNBA has to hide behind silence. And we're not just venting, we're mobilizing. And here's what we're demanding: facility equity audits across all franchises, because every team should be held to the same standard. Title VII legal review. We want civil rights experts digging into the racial and gender discrimination baked into this business model. And most important, the Chicago Sky needs to invest or sell. If you couldn't build a facility in 20 years, not after winning the championship, not after signing Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso, then you don't deserve to own the team. We said what we said. This is not charity. This is professional sports. and the game deserves better. Let's bring it home and let the people know where we go from here.
Let's be clear. This ain't personal. This is policy. Because ownership isn't just about who signs the check. It's about who sets the standard. And when a team refuses to meet the most basic workplace condition for its athletes, they're not just failing players. They're compromising the integrity of the whole league. We need transparency, full stop. We need to know, where's the money going? What's the timeline on the $40 million facility? Hasn't a single brick been laid? And we need to uplift player-first ownership models that put well-being and equity at the center. Think Angel City FC. Think Unrivaled. Think Black women in control. Not just in uniform, but in the boardroom. The days of being labor without being leaders, those days are numbered if we stay organized. So if you're a fan who loves this league but wants it to live up to the values it claims, this is your moment. And like we always say at PoliSports, sports is never just about the games we play. It's about the stories we tell and the systems we challenge. Let's change that system.
And just like that, fam, we laid it all out. From missing facilities to plantation politics delivered in PowerPoint slides. The Chicago Sky saga didn't just spill tea. It pulled the whole curtain back on a system that's been shady from the jump. Because let's be real, this ain't just one franchise fumbling the bag. This a whole ass infrastructure of exploitation built on the backs of Black and brown women athletes who've been dominating the game while being devalued by the very institutions that profit off their labor. What we broke down today: economic exploitation, racialized neglect, leadership silence. That's the toxic triangle that too many players are forced to hoop through, and we done let it slide. This is exactly why we created the Respect Her Sports Advocacy Group, where we're not here to whisper, we're here to push back, to demand accountability, to raise the standards, and to make sure no team, not now, not ever, gets to treat elite women like second-class citizens and call it a business. Because let's keep it a buck. If you got a championship banner, if you made $40 million promises, then you damn well better have a facility in the ground, not just as excuses in a boardroom. The movement is here. The momentum is building. And trust, we watching everybody.
That's right, Cess. At the end of the day, this just ain't about buildings. It's about power, about who gets to have it, who gets to shape the future of women's sports, and who's forced to keep performing under broken conditions while being told to be grateful. Nah, not anymore. We want you to join the fight. Tap in, sign up, spread the word. Respect Her game isn't just a hashtag. It's a demand. It's a declaration. And it's the beginning of a new era where fans meet and players move in alignment to demand better. Not just for the top name, but for every woman athlete coming through that tunnel. Because in the end, it's more than practice facility. It's about respect. It's about equity. And it's about shared power.
You already know how we do. We're going to keep dropping the tea, piping hot and heavy with truth until somebody in power finally decides to listen. So don't forget, sports is never just about the games we play. It's about the stories we tell and the way we fight for the athletes we love. This session, favorite auntie with Uncle Tendencies and Political Lil. Stay loud, stay watching, stay ready, stay tuned. Talk soon, y'all. We out.